today. And when you can open up and become the team, the family that God has called you to be, that's when lives begin to change. That's when barriers start to break. To pray for one another. The family of God cares for one another and lifts each other up. Imagine if you knew, if you looked around you today and you knew that, man, that person's got my back. There's an awesome thing. I could not find it anywhere. Man, I searched forever. Could not find it. But there's this awesome moment where there's a quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bucks last year that went around to every one of his players as they were in the locker room. And he's a real loud, like, boisterous guy. But he went around to every single player in the locker room before this game, and he just put his hand on everyone's shoulder as he walked through, and he just kind of whispered, not awkwardly, but just like, I got your back. I got your back. I got your back. And he kind of gives me little chill bumps thinking about it. He goes, I got your back. Whether they were defense, offense, special teams, coaches, whoever, I got your back. I got your back. He didn't give this big, loud speech. He didn't give this big roar. He just simply said those words to every single player in the locker room. And so they knew when they got out on that field that he what? He had their back. You remember back in the day when these became popular, like the stick figures, and the one stick figure's here, and he's like, I got your back, and he's literally holding the other stick figures back, and that kind of thing. Nope, I'm the only one that ever saw that. Dang it. Okay, but they're really cool, and so I want you to think of that, man. Can you look around here and know that we have each other's back? That we're going to pray for each other, we're going to lift each other up, we're going to be here for each other. And the reason we need to do this, and everybody in your greatest sister sledge voice possible, this is the big idea, this is the main thing, they even played the song for you earlier. We are a what? Family. So everybody say it together. 1, 2, 3. We are a family. Try to say that without singing it. It's impossible, all right? And that is the big idea today. That is the main thing. We are a family. We are the family of God. He has chosen you to be who He wants you to be. The greatest example, one of the greatest places we can go is in Acts. Anytime you're talking about being the church, anytime you're talking about being the family of God, this stuff gets me pretty pumped up and riled up because we don't have to go about it alone. We don't have to go about it like, man, I'm weak in this area. And then when you're in a family, when you're in a team, someone's going to be strong in those areas that you're weak in. When you're tired, there's going to be someone that has that energy to pump you up and lift you up and to make it work. That's why we're stronger together. So Acts chapter 2, verse 42, I'm just going to read the first couple verses. They devoted themselves, this is to the church of Acts, you should probably heard a lot about it. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship. That's been kind of a big theme for this month. I want us to think about those words. And to fellowship, to breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. Let's break that down for a second, man. This is what the family of God looks like. The original Greek, the definitions, fellowship is in community with one another. Man, isn't that good to be a part of a community? I could not help but think, and I prayed, man, I know there's some people in this world that they feel like they're on an island. Forget a community, forget a family, man. I feel like I'm isolated all by myself. Whether it's something I've done or something done to me or around me or through me, I feel like I'm alone and I'm on this island. And here's the picture of God's family. Here's the picture of God's church that He wants us to have. 1 Timothy 3:14 and 15 say this. Although I hope to come to you soon, Paul is writing this letter to him, I am writing you these instructions so that if I am delayed, you will know how people ought to conduct themselves. Somebody say ought. How ought you conduct yourself? This you will know how people ought to conduct themselves in God's household, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and foundation of the truth. In God's household. This phrase just jumped out to me. If we're a family, where's our house? Right here, man. God's church. That's what it's called to be. All right, now, if you're awake enough, I want you to close your eyes. If not, you can leave them open, all right? But if you're awake enough, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think back. You may have to think way back. You may have to think of somewhere right now. Think back of a house, a family member's house, a friend's house, a best friend's house, a granny's house, whatever. Think of a house that just brings warm, fuzzy feelings to you. Like, man, when I would go to so-and-so's house, and it was awesome. Boy, when I would go, it's so interesting how life happens. When I was thinking back about this, I thought about, man, my grandparents' cabin in Arkansas. But then as an adult, as I go through there, I'm like, this is the creepiest place on earth. Like, mother, father, you let me spend the night here before? This is not healthy. This is not good. But you go back to your childhood memories, man, and think about that household. I want you to ask yourself this question. When you think of the church, when you think of God's house, which we are in today, which we are here as his body and gathered, what picture do you have of his house? Do you have a picture of man, strength and having each other's back and reaching the lost and going out and providing for the hungry and providing for those in need and doing what he's called us to do? Or do we have a picture of, no, I kind of have my own agenda, I got my own schedule, I got my own way of things, and maybe every once in a while the church and my stuff will line up. But ultimately, what do you think of God's house? Let's look at 4 aspects of God's family. Not just a family in general, but of his family that we're talking about. Because we are what?
Family.
We are a family. All right, so number 1 is membership. Now, the Church of God, our denomination, we're not like huge on membership. I had somebody tell me, and oh, Father, forgive me for using the B word this morning. All right, kids, close your ears. But Baptist, okay? Man, y'all are dirty people, man. What do you think I was going to that? But I know I had someone share with me one time about a particular Baptist church, and he said, oh yeah, I was going to go here. I'd love to check out Lifespring, but you know, I need to transfer papers, and I need to have them send this and do that for my membership. And I was like, you know what? All you got to do is show up. I'm not sure about those papers and stuff. But this, oh no, our membership, this and this, and that's cool. That's their thing. For us, when I'm talking about membership today in God's family, this is what I'm talking about. Choosing to belong. You've got to choose God's family. It's not about a piece of paper. It's not about your grandma, your grandpa, your dad, whoever. It's about you choosing to be a part of the greatest family ever created, and that is God's family. Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Why is it important to choose to be a part of God's family? Why is it important? Here at Lifespring, we believe once you've received Christ and become a Christian and you say, I love the Lord, and you attend here, then you are a member. Welcome everybody that loves Jesus, and good job, okay? Because we believe that once you do that, you are a part of that family. And the reason why it's a family, the reason why it's not an isolated thing, think about this. Somebody told me once, well, hey, what about, in your sports analogies, about the importance of a team, what about boxing? Or what about UFC? Or what about golf, right? Well, guess what? Each individual has a what around them? A team. They have coaches, they have trainers, they have doctors to help them if they get hurt. Even in individual sports, you still need a good team around you in order to succeed. And so God wants us to be the same way. Ecclesiastes chapter 4 and verses 9 through 12 say this. And this is pretty cool. We talked about this at youth group and it was awesome. Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 12 says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, if either of them falls down, one can help the other up. I'm going to keep reading through this, but I want to share with you too. I shared this Wednesday night. Any LeBron James fans in the house? I know this is football country, but you can still kind of like basketball too, okay? I'm not a LeBron James fan personally. I just think, yeah, you're the greatest, whatever. I hate the Lakers. I hope you lose every game, okay? Enough about that. But there was a moment. I was watching his very first game as a Laker, and he's got all these young players around him. And again, these little chill. Some of you are like, man, you're weird. But this gave me chill bumps. He looked at one of his players, and keep in mind, these are all really young players. They haven't been in the league very long. The team's not great yet, and so he's working on it. He was mic'd up for this game, and he went to his players, and he said this exact quote. He said, if you fall, stay down. One of your brothers will pick you up. If you fall, stay down. Now, if it's in the middle of the play, get up, keep going. But like if the whistle blows and you're on the ground, he said, stay on the ground. One of your brothers will pick you up. And he made that a statement for his team. If one of our brothers, if one of our teammates is on that ground, they're not getting up until one of us help them up. And that's where I think about the scripture, man. If any of it falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. All the married people said amen. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Think about this concept of team. And I want you to honestly, and it's kind of not great to go there. Yeah, go ahead. It's not really great to think about this, but think about if you feel like you're alone. Man, you could be married, you could have children, you could have 1 million friends, you could have 5,000 followers on social media, and guess what? You could still feel like you're all alone. And what God's wanting you to do is see that you're not, and that you can be a part of a team. So we're going to do a little something here. Zoe Clark, come on down, all right? So everybody say, what up, Jacob? Okay, now when you see Jacob, do you think the word big, strong, awesome, right? Everybody say, hey, Zoe. This is Zoe. She's a 6th grader in a youth group, and we are going to do this. We did this Wednesday night. We're going to see how it goes this time. But we're going to have Jacob challenge Zoe to an arm wrestling match, all right? Now, there's no gimmicks. There's no trick. There's no lever. Raise your hand if you think Zoe has a chance to beat Jacob. Wow, Jacob, don't look. It'll make you cry. It'll make you cry. All right. In all reality, and for the sake of this illustration, she does not have a chance. Okay. But let's go ahead and arm wrestle. Go ahead and grab it. 1, 2, 3, go. Not even a chance. All right. Now. I said we gotta hold them back. All right. If you are in deep end, if you are 5th to 8th grade, come on down now. Now. Zoe by herself does not have a chance, but what happens when you gather a team around you and you have people kick him in the shin when he's trying to do it or whatever? Now we're going to take our youth group, our deep end class, and now you guys help Zoe beat Jacob. Ready, set, go. Boom. Didn't stand a chance. Everybody give him a hand. Good job. Man, y'all think, hey, you are getting deep with these analogies, right? But look at that. How cool it was to see that all together. So my first idea was to do a basketball thing, and then I had a dream of the basketball hoop knocking the projector thing off, the thing, so we stuck with arm wrestling, okay? But think about that concept. Look at, and Wednesday night, it was kind of cool, because they had no clue. Jacob didn't know anything about it. Zoe didn't know anything about it. You didn't know. So when Zoe sat down in the chair, I said, Zoe, you sit here, Jacob, you sit here, and now you're going to arm wrestle. Zoe looked at me like, he said, what? We're going, what? Today they got to knew what was coming, but here's the thing. And this is what I'm talking about, man. And the strength of numbers, the strength of being a team, the strength of being the family of God. I've been there, and you've been there. That look that Zoe had at first of like, there's no way. There's no way by myself I can do this. There's no way I could beat Jacob right now. I mean, he's this big. Which, by the way, did you know your son, Ethan, is freakishly good at arm wrestling?
Oh, he's amazing at it.
Like,
he embarrassed
Jacob individually.
He embarrassed us.
Like trying.
It was bad.
Oh, anyways.
Like we would try and he would just sit there and chill.
And next time he's here, I know he's at work right now, but next time he's here, I'm going to have him challenge every single one of you to arm wrestling. I guarantee you, I got $10 in Jesus money that he's going to win, all right? Scuba bucks, that's what it is, scuba bucks, all right? So here's the thing. Power, unless you're Ethan, you need a team around you, okay, to win things like this. And we've all been there where it's like, you know what, I'm alone, there's no way. But look at how cool that was when you have a team around you. Every single one of them wanted to see Jacob fail, right? They wanted to see him lose. And when it comes to this battle, and here's the truth, here's a fact, this is rivalry week. The truth is there is a rivalry going on, and there is a battle between dark and light. And there's a battle, as we said in the beginning. And the question is, are you fighting that battle alone, or are you willing to be a part of God's family and fight together? There is nothing like going into a game and already knowing you won. Can you imagine that feeling? Can you imagine if you just knew? You're like, yeah, I'd be rich. But can you imagine if every time you face something in life, if every time the trial came your way, you knew through the Holy Spirit and through the grace of God, you're going to win because of what God's going to do. There's nothing like already knowing the outcome. There's nothing like already knowing who's on your team and who's fighting for you, man. I know that you guys have my back as your pastor, as your leader, and I know that we are on a team together, which is incredible. There are too many churches, I'm getting on my little soapbox for a second, but there are too many churches that are battling right now to at least get people on the pastor's team. There's too many churches right now battling between this side and that side. They're having that Carolina, Clemson, challenge, only it's happening inside the church. It's happening inside with their people. Who's going to win out on this decision? Who's going to win out on that decision? I'm reading an awesome book right now, and one of the things it said, if your pastor has to take a week or two or months to convince your leaders in your church that God's moving in a direction, then something's wrong. Man, I am so proud to know that I serve a church that says, hey, if God's going there, let's go. We don't have to take time to convince everybody. Let's do what he calls us to do. So the first aspect is, I hope you have chosen to be a part of God's family. Put a team around you. Don't arm wrestle alone. Amen? Amen. The second part of family, the second aspect of God's family that I want to talk about is friendship. Somebody say friendship.
Friendship.
Friendship. You're a Big Brother fan, homeboy that would always say friendship. Learning to share. How many of you have toddlers in your home or work with kids or whatever? What's one of the hardest things you get? Hating to share. It's mine. You know, I don't want to share. Learning to share. Acts 2:44 says this. All the believers were together and had everything in common. All the believers were together and had everything. Now, was it their personalities? Was it they all worked at the same place? Was it they all been to the same things? No. But what they had in common was sharing and being there for other people. Here's what I want to challenge us as a church to be. Share your resources and your stories, man. What you have to give to serve others is so huge. And what the stories you can share and the things you can talk about is incredible. Even if you don't feel like you need someone, someone needs you. Somebody say, Even if you feel like I'm good right now, I don't need anybody, in the family of God, someone needs what you have to offer. Someone needs that prayer. I use Dave, Brother Dave Willingham. He comes to our first service. He's one of our trustees. He's an incredible man of God. He likes behind the scenes kind of things. You might have never seen him or talked to him, but he is very, very, very big in our church. And I always go back when I think about how we need each other. Dave Willingham, about 6 years ago, we had probably not had 2 conversations together. We probably didn't talk much at all. At that point, I was going through a terrible time with my separation, with my ex, just really, really tough times. And Dave, I got choked up talking about this in the first service. He was sitting right there. But Dave reached out to me, and he said, almost direct quote, he said, Nate, you know, I've never been married. I'm not currently married. He said, so I don't know exactly what you're going through, and I can't imagine how you feel. He says, but if you just need like an outside source, just somebody to talk to, somebody to pray with, somebody to talk about the situation to, he called me up to tell me, he says, you call me anytime. And I didn't even know him that well at the time. And he didn't even know me real well at the time. And he knew that he couldn't exactly relate to that situation, but he just put it out there. He said, Nate, I'm here for you. That's the family of God. That's the family of God saying, you know what, I want to reach out and be there. And here's the coolest thing about being a part of a team and about being a part of the family of God is the family of God and being a part of this team means it's bigger than yourself. It's bigger than me. How many of you, if you're brutally honest, thank God almost every day that God is bigger than I am? God is bigger than you, man. If it was me and my flesh and my decisions and how I want to do things, boy, we'd all be in a lot of trouble. But I serve a God that is greater than I will ever be. I serve a God that is bigger than I'll ever be. And I serve a God that has always been there to do his part and be who he's always said he is. And that's the next aspect of God's family is it's a partnership. In a partnership, one of the greatest things that has to happen is you all have to be willing to do your part. Because that means you are doing something that's bigger than yourself. I was very thankful for this do your part aspect as a kid growing up. Because I had 2 brothers. How many of you love cleaning bathrooms? Okay, you're weird. Raise your hand, all right? I hated cleaning bathrooms, but we had a team because I had 2 brothers, right? And so I remember this to this day. Every Monday was bathroom day, but bathroom day wasn't so bad because guess what? 3 of us, 1 bathroom. So we all had an assignment every Monday. One was on, sink, one was on toilet, one was on floors and tub or whatever. And so when we all just went in there and did our one little part, guess what ended up happening by the end of the day? The entire bathroom got cleaned, and we didn't have to do it all ourselves. The church is so much bigger and better when everyone just does their part. It's incredible. I'll share this quick story. I have a buddy, Bob. Everybody say Bob.
Bob.
True story. His name is actually Bob. It's not one of those fake names that you make up. But my buddy Bob, I'm at a Starbucks thing. He was at a marriage retreat. And I'm about to go on the same marriage retreat this weekend, this Thursday through Saturday. And he was at this marriage retreat. They were offering 2 of them. And Hope and I are about to go to it this next weekend. And a part of our itinerary is we're going to have breakouts and we're going to talk about how to love God, how to love each other. And then on Friday night, you do your own date night. You just go out, you do your own date night. There's no kids, there's no friends, there's no nothing. This is a retreat for your marriage. So Thursday night through Saturday afternoon, it's marriage, marriage, marriage. And Friday night, we have to do this this date night. Well, my buddy Bob, if I say Bob,
Hi, Bob.
He grew up in the church I grew up with. He's around my brother's age. He's now a pastor in Kentucky and about to move to Ohio. Just an incredible man of God. And I'm sitting in Starbucks on Wednesday, and I'm meeting with somebody, and I said, well, let me pull up this email for my notes. And as I pull on my email, I see this email from Venmo, which Venmo is like a money sharing thing. And it says, Bob Hawker shared X amount of money with you. And on the top it said, love you, brother. Have a great date night on your retreat. And I was just like, thanks, Bob is right. I'm sitting in the middle of Starbucks, and the person across from me is like, what are you looking at? I'm like, oh man. And I start boo-hooing. I'm just like, are you kidding me? The exact amount that he just felt God put on his heart to give, we just as a family had prayed about sending to a guy working with refugees in Charlotte. And it was just like, boom, lining up, boom, boom, perfect. And here's what's crazy is, the church is so much bigger than us. The church is so much bigger than Boiling Springs. This is a guy from Kentucky about to move to Ohio that I knew 15 years ago that is still being used by God to further his kingdom and to be the church. The guy that's serving in Charlotte right now that we're supporting and trying to be there for and pray for is a dude from Indiana named Austin Shaner, who's now serving in Charlotte to help refugees learn how to play soccer and love Jesus. I mean, this is what the church is. So I want you to think, I want you to take your circle of your influences, and band, you guys come on up. But I want you to think what you think life is all about around you. And I want you to think about the choices you've made and this island you may feel like you're on. And I want you to know, if you will be a part of God's family, if you will truly submit to being God's family, then it's so much bigger than us. And the last aspect of family is this, kinship. Kinship, man. How many of you here have family that live within 30 miles of you? Most everybody. Around Boiling Springs, everybody's related, everybody knows each other. Here's the thing. Kinship is something to love like a family, man. How many of you would do anything for your family? Man, I can beat my brothers up, but you don't touch them.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
And that's how we live our lives. Man, I can talk this way about my mama, but ooh, you better not say my mama in your mouth. That's what family is like. We got to love like a family. Everyone needs to understand this. The family of God should be even more than that on a spiritual level. We should be lifting each other up. We should have each other's back, and we should be there for each other. We're going to go ahead and do a song that is so perfect and so powerful for what we're ending on. But this one is Who You Say I Am. And we want you to think about this concept of God has chosen to love you. God has chosen for you to be a part of his family, but you've got to make that choice too. And I want you to think about this. 1 John chapter 3, verse 16 says this. This is how you know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. When I talk about being in God's family and doing your part, Jesus' part was to come and die for you. God's part was to sacrifice his son. His part has been done. Are you willing to do yours? Are you willing to be in that family of God? If you don't like who you think you are, if you feel like you're isolated on an island, I'm going to ask you to be willing to say, God, I want to be a part of your family. I want to be a part of a family that's so much bigger than I could ever imagine, ever dream, and you will take me places I can never even imagine going. And so if you need prayer today, if you want to accept him and become a part of his family for the very first time, if you want to rededicate your life to say, Lord, here I am, I want to be in this family. If you need to pray for someone that you know, man, the power of praying to mama or grandma or grandpa or daddy is huge. If you know someone that needs Jesus, I want to encourage you to pray for them today, because we are a family and we want to be a part of that family of God. Father God, I pray that we can sing this song and know who we are in you. And Father God, if there's anybody out here today that doesn't even feel like maybe they're a part of this family, that God, that they would make that awesome choice to accept you and join the family of God. God, if there's anybody that feels like, man, I've accepted, I'm a part of this family, but I feel so isolated right now. I feel so alone right now. God, I pray that they would come up and pray or do what they need to do so that they can feel the love of your people around the church that you called us to be, to love each other. Father God, I think about the people that find it hard to be loved. And God, I pray that they be willing just to be loved by you. Let us wrap our arms around each other as your church and your body. In your precious name I pray. Amen.
song, I want you to sing that with the declaration that you are free from your sin, you're free from the guilt and the shame and anything that's holding you back. You don't have to hold on to that because Christ has set you free.
Lifespring is guilty of loving people too much, let's go. I'll take that all day, every day. So I want to pray for us one last time. And I want to pray that you make that decision to be a part of God's family, that you be a part of what He wants to do, because we are here to love each other. We're here to connect and help each other out. Father God, I pray that if there's someone that can't even love themselves, that they would feel your love so overpowering that they can't help but love themselves. someone like this young lady I'm thinking of years ago that was seeking a love. They were seeking out. And when they found it, they couldn't handle it because of their lifestyle, because of not being able to love themselves. God, I pray that Lifespring is that church that just loves people too much. I pray, God, that we leave here, that we don't just keep what you're doing between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m., God, but we take it outside of this place, and that we be the family that you've created us to be every single place we go, every person we encounter. And God, that means we got to open up to each other. That means we got to get to know each other. That means we got to spend time together. But God, that we be willing to do whatever it takes to be the family you called us to be. To get out there and love on people. Just as that church in Acts did, just as your apostles did, just as those that you called